Hello everyone, my name is Megan.
And I'm Amjad.
And we just want to welcome you to our second episode of how to engage with your live streaming experience and how to make that a reality. No matter what size of a church you have, it could be a large one, it could be a small one, you could have a lot of resources or limited resources, and we just want to share with you how to get that done. In our first episode, what we talked about was the why. And we talked about the fact that we want to engage people, that we want to reach people. We talked about the fact that we wanted to get the word out. And today we're going to delve into something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the hardware, how to get these things done. And I'm talking, what are we doing?
Yeah, so last time, if you remember, I gave an overview and most of that conversation was about the software we were using. And I didn't really mention too many softwares, but softwares and technologies and all that. Today, let's look at the actual hardware that we are using. And I want to re-emphasize that you do not need the same hardware to do what we are doing. You can use different hardware, and the price points can be a whole range. So depending on what you wish to do and what your budget is, we are here to say to you that you can do it and do it in an engaging way. So today we are just going to share with you the hardware that we use to do our production and the kind of technologies that are in play.
Okay.
So why don't we go over there and let's start with the computer here.
Okay. Okay, so what do we have here?
So we are using a computer to manage different things right here on our altar. So the first thing that I think we should talk about is our rack mount over here. So we have a sound board, which means that all the audio inputs, such as the piano here, such as the organ, such as all the different microphones, and whatever, the drum set, whatever we are using in our worship is all coming through in here through this sound. And then it goes into the computer over here through a USB, and from there we use a technology called DANTE to take the sound, the digital sound, because now this thing helps us turn the audio analog signal into digital, and once it's in our computer, we use DANTE to then take that digital signal to any computer anywhere on our network here, and we can manipulate it whichever way we want to.
Okay. How powerful of a computer do you need for this?
Right, excellent question. This one happens to be a really powerful computer, and it's i9, and it has, I think, 32 gigabytes of RAM in it, and you can add as much as you want. What it does is, for us, and we will show you how, it processes all the sound for us, right? And it also helps us with the sequence, the automation that this main computer here runs.
Okay.
That's one of the functions. The second function for this computer is to connect us, the video, to the main streaming computer. So we use a product called Vimeo, and Vimeo allows us to bring in guests from anywhere in the world. So we can have 5 people. You know how these TV channels bring in guests, and, right? So we can actually do that too here. In fact, for 2 years, we had 2 churches. We were worshiping together because we were in each other's system, and we would do it live together and then live stream it. And so from 2 different locations. We have had, a person preach for us. We're in Connecticut, from Texas, another person from Wales, England. And so what this allows us to do is to bring people in from so many different locations. You know, there's no limitation.
There's no distance.
There's no distance. There's no distance, and we can bring people in, and we can, and they can be part of our worship service. So that we do with Vimeo. So what you're looking at right now is that software, Vimeo.com, where we are plugged in as a guest for our main system. Now, we don't use the audio function for this. This is only for the video and only for this one camera, right? But the main reason for doing it this way is because whatever we are producing, it also comes back on the screen. So for instance, the image you are seeing on the screen right now, so if you could take a look at that image, the image you're seeing right now is actually not from this camera, obviously, right? It's actually from a camera over there, right? Way over there in the pews, right? And that is a PTZ camera that we are using, okay? So this allows for us to project things for our congregation as well. So there's a huge TV over there, and the people can see that. And so when we are producing that whole worship service with lyrics and all that, people can actually see that. So Vimeo allows us to bring all of that back into our space here, into the Dave, with the processed programming, right? But let me go back to the other components, and let me show you what we use here to do the audio processing. So what we have here is a thing called Reaper. So this software is a DAW, right?
And DAW stands for what?
DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation, right? So essentially, all these inputs that are going in here show up over here, and then on top of that, every Tuesday, in our case, we have our choir here in the morning, and we record them, and we take that recording and we process it, right? We mix it, we master it, we produce a track, then we bring that track back, and if you can see over here, this is like one of those tracks that we have brought back, okay? So now we play that track, but as we are playing that track, the microphones, if you can see all these red things are going up and down, these are live microphones, which means that people can sing, those who are up here on Sunday morning, when they are singing, their sound is also being mixed with what we have pre-produced, right? So we get a very holistic feel for our congregational singing. So it's not only what we have produced as a choir, but also what our congregation is singing or what's happening here on Sunday morning. And all that processing of sound is happening right here through this software called Reaper. But that's not all what it's doing. If you see these red lines and these blue lines and gray and all of that, these are, for instance, all these red ones are for ProPresenter. So ProPresenter is a software running on another machine, which we will show you, which allows us to present lyrics and prayers and things like that. Now, which lyric at which time should appear for our worship service is controlled by these tracks here, okay? So that way, as you can imagine, we can have a pre-recorded track here, and we can do with precision the spacing of where the lyrics will appear. So the lyrics can appear exactly where we want them to appear during the song, and so that way, all of this is happening here, and the way that computer knows to do this is through this interface over here, which is called the MIDI interface, right? So this interface is interesting because it not only has physical MIDI connections, but it also gives you the ability to take your MIDI information over a computer IP network. So we are using these tracks, sending that information through that box here, which turns it into something that can go over the IP network, and that information goes to that other room, and that computer translates it back into MIDI information, and then the Pro presenter runs that way. So that's just one of the things that this is doing. Then the other thing is, this blue thing is our camera. Remember I talked about a PTZ camera, right? It's right over there. That PTZ camera is also something which we can control through MIDI. So we can zoom in, zoom out, make it go whichever direction we want it to make it go with the help of MIDI information. Now we pre-program all of that. We pre-program where our camera should be at what time. So for instance, the camera should be looking at the altar while we are celebrating communion. The camera should be looking at the lectern while we are reading the Bible, things like that. So we pre-program where the camera will be at any given time. Now, we also have this little camera here, and what we want our viewers to know is that you don't need fancy cameras. We use a $60 security camera, and we have turned it into a sort of a supplementary camera for us. So it gives us just a little bit of a shot, but we use that as well. And so what it allows us to do is, it allows us different views. Especially think about it, when the PTZ is moving, you don't want the whole picture to go like this, right? So you want the shot from here, and then you want the shot from here. So we use another computer, and we use automation on that computer to shift the focus from one of these cameras to this, and then back and forth. So that way, when it's moving, the view is that people are looking at is from some other camera, right? So again, we know that, we pre-program it, we have calculated all the movements, and all of that sequencing is done here every week. So just imagine, every week, every single second of our worship service is pre-programmed for camera movements, for which camera it's going to be, which video is going to play at what time, right? And again, this computer here is not playing the video, some other computer is, but this one is like directing what will happen at what time.
And it also saves on manpower too, as far as you don't need 3 people to be manning a camera.
Exactly.
So it's very easy to.
Exactly. You see, a lot of churches are unable to do a production of this kind because they don't have people, human resource, right? So we can actually do, for instance, I just did 2 funerals this last week, where we had basically one person here and me who were controlling the whole thing, and I was doing it from my cell phone. And I can control all the cameras, I can control where the camera view is, which track is playing, which slide is showing, everything from my little thing. And we use a software called Stream Deck for it. But also, as I mentioned, there was someone here who was taking care of running the sequences. So this here is called a control surface, okay? So and it looks like as if it was a mixer with all the knobs and everything. And you see only 8 of them, but it has the potential to actually, limitless, however many you have. So essentially we have this control surface which the person can use to play the track like this, right? and you know, okay, as you can see, the track started playing, right?
Nice.
Right? And you can stop it, you can go to the next one, you know, so you can do your whole set, the list of things that you want to play, and the person here can control it. So, in our case, that person also sings, so she can control all of that. And she can also mute and unmute any of the sound sources she needs to mute or unmute. So for instance, we have a virtual campus, and we'll show you a little bit of that.
Okay.
And that, there's a whole space on the web where people can gather, a whole community can gather, limitless, 100,000, right? People can gather, and from there, their sound comes into the system here. So they become a part of the worship service too. Remember, our live streaming is not just putting a camera and showing what is happening here. We want to engage people. We want to bring people into our worship service from different locations, right? So for us, the main thing is that it does not matter where you are. So we say anytime, anywhere, right? If it does not matter where you are, you should be able to have the same or close to same experience of a worship service at home or in this space. And we have had college students read the Bible for us during our live worship service from their dorm rooms, right? So we are doing our level best to not leave anyone behind. So that is the idea with which we are doing our technology, not just to create a fancy, show, but to bring as many people in as possible.
That's why it's very comforting to many people that maybe they're homebound, maybe they're sick, maybe they want to be here but they're in a different state. They can still feel like they're involved and be a part of the worship experience here.
Absolutely, and we have quite a bit of that happening actually. Practically every worship service, we have someone from a remote location do our readings. So back to hardware. We have microphones, which are all inputs. Now, these headphones, that's another interesting story. When we have a Tuesday morning, this whole space turns into a studio. So people wear headphones as they are recording their tracks. So every Tuesday, we turn this altar space into a studio space, right? And again, that computer allows us to do that, to do all the audio work. So what I want to highlight here is that this one computer is helping us not only connected and bringing the feedback in here and all of that, but it's also helping us do audio production, whether it's on a Tuesday morning or on a Sunday morning. So this is the only computer, I think, which is dedicated, which is just doing this stuff. The point there is that all the other computers that we use are actually being used by other people during the week. So there, for instance, our finance person uses a computer, and we turn that into a production computer on Sundays. We have a conference room, and that computer turns into our virtual campus computer. So all these different computers have different roles during the weekday, and then they turn into a part of our production on Sunday morning.
This is the only designated one for here.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
We do have another one over there, which is a laptop, and what that allows us to do is, remember we bring the feed back in here, so we also bring the feed to that computer independent of this feed. So we bring it within our internal network through a technology called NDI, and I think it stands for Network Device Interface, but it's an audio video transport technology, and we bring that to that laptop so that people who are reading the Bible can actually scroll in time. Sometimes that happens, sometimes that doesn't happen, but for our prayers of the people, our prayers of the people are also coming in live. So people are texting, and that text goes to one place, and that gets converted into a scroll into our production, which shows up on our televisions here, which is also on that laptop, where people can actually see that and read it out loud.
This is so automated, it makes it so easy.
It does, and again, we do have one person who is actually taking that message and converting it into such that it shows up here, because we wanted a filter in between, right? So we wanted to monitor that. So we do have one person doing that, but that person is not here. That person, it's actually last week, that person was sitting at, she's a young mother, and her daughter was having a baseball game, and so she was sitting there in the, and while her daughter is playing, she was making sure that the prayers of the people were happening in the right way over here. So that's another example of how, how people, are always saying in churches, oh, Sunday morning our people are all busy with...
It can be done, right?
Right, it can be done. You can be right there with your child, and worshiping with us, and not only worshiping with us, but also helping us run that worship. So we are actually doing that also.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it is. So now let's walk over to the other rooms, and I want us to see that it's quite a distance from here, and I'll talk about why that distance is and what we can do and how we do this. So let's walk over to the hall.
Okay.
All right, so we are here in the office where our finance person uses this computer, this over here. And what you see over here running is the Pro Presenter. So you see all the different slides and videos and all of that. For instance, this here is a video, right? You can see that. Right? All right. So this computer also has this thing running called RTP Midi, right? So you can see, remember I talked about that interface? So you see all these interface ports here, and what we have done is, through one of those ports, our Pro Presenter is being controlled, right? So the sequence there tells it which slide to play when, right? And then when to stop playing. So that's our Pro Presenter. Now here we have our main production computer. But this computer is also multi-purpose because it's used for, anything to do with the parish. So bulletins, we print them here, we make them here, we design them here, So, so this is the main parish admin area and the computer. So what we have here is this software called Studio 6. You can see there are two windows, right? So this one window is the preview, which we are seeing that one camera, right? And then we have this over here, which is coming from that Pro Presenter, okay? And we have all these different video sources. So for instance, this is the RTSP, okay? Now why did you not see it? Because I'm overlaying it, okay? So here is the RTSP, for instance, and then we have this, which you do not see the virtual campus here, but when we have it live, you will see the virtual campus here. You see actually this camera over here, and also you would find the church camera because it's not added, so now it's added. You'll be able to see the church camera over here. So you have all these different sources coming in. We also have a very old, about 12-year-old computer sitting here, and we sometimes do sermon questions, and people can answer those questions, and it creates a nice word cloud. And all of that is taken care of by this computer, which then comes into this studio as a source, as an NDI source as well. So again, we're trying to engage people. People sit there with their cell phones either before or during the worship service, and they can say things. And it's really interesting when I'm preaching and I'm asking this question and people are responding. You can see on the screen the word cloud keeps getting bigger and changing its shape, and people can see it live, and it's happening all live.
Wow.
Right? And we are capturing because we want to talk to people. We want to engage with people. We want to draw people into our worship service. So over here you will see is our PTZ camera, right? And if I click on, for instance, these buttons over here, I'll show you over. Okay. So if you focus over here, and then you see how the PTZ camera is moving and looking at something that right now a member of our congregation is very, very focused on. And he doesn't know that we're doing this, so we shouldn't be. But you see how the video camera is moving. Now, and it is actually this little dot over here. It is this camera that was doing all the movement. So if I move this, you will actually see it move over here. Okay, you see that? Do you see how it moved? Now, you also probably saw a little delay in it, because remember, this one is the $60 RTSP camera, and its feed is delayed, so we don't really use it much. We just use it to have different shots as this camera is moving. So, but this is the module that controls it, and as you can see here, these are the MIDI sources, and we have a MIDI source again through an RTP, again through that interface, which is sending it the information here, and that information gets translated into whichever presets we want, and the cameras move. And all of that again is controlled by the sequence over there. And we can record it, we can stream it from here. We also have the ability to add GFXs. So now we can also superimpose on whatever is happening different graphic effects. So you can see a ticker moving, everything that you see in TV production, we can do it here using this software. And the machine that's doing it is behind us. And yes, it's a powerful machine. It's the same kind of machine that we have over on that.
This area here, is there actually a live person manning this?
Right, that's an excellent question. Before I answer that, let me show you this little device over here. It's a very simple a tablet. You can find it very cheap. And then we have installed on it a thing called Stream Deck. And what Stream Deck allows us to do is, remember how I was moving that camera? You see? You see how that camera is now moving? Right? So I can control this through my Stream Deck. I can control a lot of things through the Stream Deck, and you will see it is playing that sequence. And if you could hear the audio, you can actually see the audio coming in here with these. Right? Okay, so essentially with the Stream Deck, I can control all the different computers from just this one device. And the same software I have on my cell phone also. Now, to answer your question, do we have someone sitting here? Yes, we do, because there are certain things we still have not automated, and they cannot be automated. For instance, when someone goes from one location to another, we don't know that. Right? So the other thing that we are very particular about is we do all this automation and everything so that the worship, at the time of the worship service, the people doing the worship service do not have to be conscious about where the cameras are or how the audio is going or anything. They can simply focus on the worship itself. So we need one person here to actually follow the camera where they are going. And so those kinds of things we still do not want to do it, because otherwise it would restrict how we worship. So our main focus is how we worship. So for that reason we don't. We could control the camera movement. For instance, for funerals, we don't have somebody sitting here. So I have it on my phone and I can do that, which is really hard for me because I'm doing the service as well as controlling the whole
So you
program.
want it to look natural and professional.
Right, at the same time, and engaging,
Yes.
bringing people into that also. So that's here. Now, how do we manage to shift the focus from one camera to another? I was doing it manually here, but in an automated environment, we actually use this computer here, which is like a 10 or 12-year-old computer again, right? And we have, again, a Midi interface running here, and we have a Midi automation program running here, which we have defined what it will do. And then we are accessing our Studio 6 through a web browser here, okay? And when we access it over here, we can do everything that we were doing, well, not everything, but a lot of things that we were doing sitting over there. So what we do is we run Midi automation on this interface over here, so it moves the things, moves the different cameras. You see how it just moved the camera from there to there. You see? Okay. So that we do through Midi automation. So that way, which camera is going to be visible at what time or live at what time, this computer allows us to do that through the automation. So now let's go into another room where we will do our virtual campus.
The virtual campus, I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Right, so virtual campus is a really unique concept, but and so remember we have the PTZ camera there, running there, right? So what we want to do now is we want to bring in that camera. So we use a thing called NDI, and NDI allows us, because that camera is NDI, allows us to bring that camera here, right? And then we want to take whatever is going to be on that screen here and transport it over to our main studio where we are switching things, the Studio 6. So we use this thing called screen capture. Now we want to make sure that screen capture is capturing the screen, but is also capturing the audio in the proper way. So we use this huddle pod, and whatever sound comes out of this huddle pod actually goes back into our system. And so how do we actually do that? We use another software called called Cakewalk. It's a DAW, and we use an NDI VST plugin to take the audio from here and transport it over to the main altar. Because here's the thing, if people were in two spaces, have you ever been in a situation where people try to put Zoom on some kind of a live production or whatever, and there is this echo going back and forth? That's because if the person on the other side of Zoom can also hear everything that is being said on this side, which includes what that person said, then there is an echo loop. So we call it, in this technology, it's called a -1, right? So what we want to do is, we want that person to hear everything except herself, right? So it sounds very simple, but you have to actually do it somehow. So we use a DAW here to achieve that goal, right? So we minus out that person from what everyone in the altar is hearing and saying. So that has to happen in live also. So we do that, we achieve that over here. And then what is a virtual campus? So let's just walk over to the virtual campus. So it's a platform called Topia, and we have our own space there, and you have to sort of log in there and say what your name is, you enter the word, you accept all the things, and then here you see the video input. Now remember, we are bringing in the video from our main PTZ camera over here. So you can see that it says New Tech NDI video, and the camera that is showing up here is actually that camera, okay? And if you see here hi-fi cable output, what we are doing here is we are bringing in the audio from over there, and it's coming to this computer, and then we have to somehow turn it into an input. So we have to somehow turn the output into an input. And so that is what hi-fi cable is, and we convert it and bring it back into this. Oops, I should have said yes instead of that. Sorry about that. But you will see that everything that you see in the space, the chairs and tables and bulletin boards and everything that you see here actually has been designed and made specifically for this virtual campus. And so what is the virtual campus? It allows us, this guy over here who's the nave guy, it allows us to have community. So this is the beautiful part about it. This nave guy can go and stand here, and then it will broadcast, it will change this thing to broadcasting. And anyone who is on our virtual campus, doesn't matter where they are standing, will be able to see the nave camera and actually hear the audio from our altar space, from our worship space, okay? And this is the fun part, anyone who comes in, and I'm just gonna move this, anyone who comes in and stands here on this carpet will also be seen by everyone in our virtual campus. Now you can have 5 people here, you can have 100 people here, you can have 1,000 people here coming to your virtual campus. The beauty about this is that any given time, 10 people will be on the screen, okay? So you will be able to talk to 10 people and you will be able to interact with them. Now, if you move from one location, let's say you were standing here and there were 5 people standing here, the videos of the 5 people will be here and you'll be able to hear them and talk to them. And then let's say you said, I want to go into, over here, okay? So you go over here. Now there are another 3-4 people standing here. Now the other 4-5 will disappear and the other 3 will appear. So what I'm trying to say here is that this is an experience as close to a natural experience that you can have. Because when you come to church, you are not sitting in a Zoom where everybody can see everybody and hear everybody. Well, that's not really encouraging interaction, right? Because then you only have to listen to one person. Well, this way you can move to wherever you want to and whoever you want to talk to. That way it allows people to build community while not being here, but still build community in a way that is very natural, that we do naturally. So that's our virtual campus, and people gather here, people read from here, people experience our worship service here, and they can have their own community here. So yes, we could do it also through Zoom, but Zoom is not what allows this kind of a natural dynamic. And this one allows that, and you can go into different spaces and all that. This has a lot more than Zoom. So
it gives a person that's in here the opportunity to be as close or even as distant as they want to be. If they want to be a little anonymous, they have that.
You are absolutely right. So if you want to be someone who comes to this, like a newcomer, A newcomer walks into the church space, they don't want to talk to everyone, right? So they have the option to actually stand in a space where they are not seen by anyone. But they can still hear what's happening because we are broadcasting this here, right? But they don't need to expose themselves in a way that they are not comfortable doing. So you're absolutely right. Zoom would not allow that. Once you're in Zoom, you can be seen, you can be heard, but in this way, you can actually stand or sit. This little thing can actually sit too. It can actually dance as well. But the point is, it's natural. So you're absolutely right. People can come here. And we've had people, when we do Bible studies and small groups and things like that, we have had people drop in from Germany, from Florida, from South Carolina. People just randomly. And interestingly, most of these people are in their 20s and 30s who just show up, and we would have wonderful faith conversations with them. So yeah, this is a great platform. But what we have done with it is we have brought that space right into a Sunday morning worship experience, so that no one feels like just because they're not here, they cannot be part of the worship service. Again, very simple technologies. NDI, we're using DAW, we're using DANTE, we're using different video switchers. Now, what I want every church to know, that practically everything that we are using, with the exception of Studio 6 and Pro Presenter, is either freeware or donationware. And that donation can be anything, but it's like Cakewalk is free, BandLab is free. So all these platforms that we are using, a lot of it, RTP MIDI is donationware. Reaper is donationware, right? So a lot of these things will not cost you either not anything or not a whole lot. So you, as a small church, can actually put this all together and have a very engaging Sunday morning service with people from different locations feeling as if they were right there with you. And in as much as they want to be participants, right? That's also very important, because we don't want to push everybody into the limelight. Right? So
this technology is absolutely amazing. It really is.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So next time we are actually going to learn how to do this. Today we just gave you a very broad overview of all the things we are using. Next time we are going to go into the specifics of how each of these things work.